Hello everyone, good morning, welcome back. Well, by the time you're watching this, it may be the evening or the afternoon, but it's morning for me, so good morning and happy Vlogmas day 5. I think we're at 5? Wild. Anyways, I wasn't intending on doing a bookshelf tour during this Vlogmas because I did one, but I realized I did it many months ago and it was requested. So I've moved some things around. I thought, yeah, let's do this because this is probably, hopefully, fingers and toes crossed, going to be the last time that I do a bookshelf tour in this house, because hopefully my bookshelf will look very different in, let's say, 6 months time. Because if you've watched any of my vlogs over the last couple of months, I've spoken about it, like we're hopefully in the new year, after Christmas and the holidays and everything's settled a bit, we'll be buying a house. So this bookshelf room, this bookshelf tour is probably going to be one of the last little time capsules to remember what the books look like, but also to go through kind of what books I have, because I have done a bit of book unhauling slowly over the last couple of months, but then I also have a big chunk of books that are kind of in a big box in storage at the moment because they no longer fit on my shelves. We've kind of reached capacity with this bookshelf, which has been really bittersweet because it was February last year where I didn't even have a bookshelf, and then I got one of the tiny little Billy bookcases behind me and we kind of filled that up, and then I expanded and got a bigger one, and then we expanded again after my 1 year on BookTube anniversary. So it has been an evolution, but it has happened quite rapidly, and the fact that we've already outgrown it is a little bit concerning because I definitely think I could reach that 1,000 plus book real home library type of thing, but at the same time, do I want to? That's the question. I have been prioritizing and focusing on reading my physical TBR for the longest time, but it's kind of getting to the point now where all the books on my bookshelf, I've always said I only want to keep books that I genuinely think that I would reread, books that I really love, basically anything over a 3-star. I collect some special editions of books, though I usually only collect 1 or 2 editions of a book max. Can you hear that? Is that a lawnmower? Of course that starts up while I'm filming. I'm so sorry. If you can hear that, I'm so sorry. It should not last, but... Oh, it's a leaf blower. That is very inconvenient. I'm just going to continue on in the hopes that the noise outside stops or that you can't hear it too distractingly, because we gotta film this video. But what was I saying? All the books on my shelf, I've kind of tried to unhaul books that were below like a 3-star for me that I didn't really enjoy. I don't really want to keep books that I don't love, because also I've got a lot of books on my bookshelf that I had bought through Vinted, and I also sell stuff through this. And I think if books that I buy on Vinted come to my home where I love them and want to keep them and consume them and reread them for many years to come, then surely the books that I am holding on to that I don't really want to read again, that I didn't really enjoy, I can unhaul off my shelves and then give them to a home for someone else to hopefully potentially love them. So that's kind of my thought process, but it's filling up because I am a habitual series binger. I love to read book series. I love to collect the whole series. So the shelves are filling up because of that. So my library room is going to have to be like double the shelf space. Books are kind of just pouring out of my ears at the moment. It just feels like a never-ending pile of books, and we will go into the piles. So my physical TBR are books that I have bought for series that I'm in the middle of, or series that I want to start, or series that are spin-off for other series. I need to try and move this mug to hold it in a more comfortable way because the little arm here is quite small. I feel like I'm holding it so awkwardly. We also have quite a few ARCs because publishers will ask if they can send over an early copy of a book, or same with authors, especially like indie debut authors. I get a lot of emails asking if I can, read their books, if it might be something I might like. I usually try to take as many ARCs as I can digitally, just because I feel like they're getting louder outside. I try to take as many ARCs as I can digitally just to prevent waste, and taking up space. And my bookshelf is also starting to be double stacked. So some shelves I have books hidden behind the books that are on display. My books aren't pushed all the way up into the back edge because there is stuff behind them. I don't really know what to do. I think, like I said, gonna have to read a lot more on my Kindle, but there's just something about physically reading that is just my favorite. I love to read a physical book and carry around a physical book, but I love my Kindle. I've also had a lot of comments and messages of people being like, when should you get a Kindle and how do you decide what you read on a Kindle versus physical reads, etc. It's mainly just convenience and also cost, because having a Kindle, I can buy books on there for 99p when they go on sales every month where there will be a bunch of books that are available for 99p. There's also Kindle Unlimited, so you pay like a flat fee, it's like under £10 a month, and you have access to the Kindle Unlimited library. And and so many indie books are on Kindle Unlimited because authors will put their books on Kindle Unlimited. I can go and read, almost like a library service, read books and then return them to Kindle Unlimited, and then download more books to read and then return them to Kindle Unlimited. They don't permanently stay on your Kindle, but I am just rambling at this stage. But essentially, if a book is free to read on Kindle Unlimited or is 99p, £1, £2, I will download it and read it on Kindle. But sometimes Kindle books will be 10, 11, 12, 13 pounds, especially when a new release comes out and it's not included in Kindle Unlimited, and it's also the same price or close to having the physical copy. So then I'm like, I may as well just buy the physical copy because then I can reread it and keep it on my shelf and it's pretty, you know? So that's how I decide what I want to read. I'll check to see where a book is cheapest, where I can download it and read it. Anyways, that is a super long intro of me just explaining how my bookshelves work, but it's related to the tour. So I will show you my tour and the books itself. My shelves have been decorated the same since I had them. I kind of have just switched things around, but we have obviously the Billy bookshelves from IKEA. I've built them before in vlogs. I've, reset them up. I'll probably try and link below all my other bookshelf videos so you can see the evolution or progression of them. And these are just the standard Billy bookshelves from IKEA. So I have 2 of the bigger sizes and then 2 of the little ones. So I have the 2 little ones in the middle, which originally kind of started out as more like they were my show off shelves. Here's my special editions I'm going to face out, or, my styling shelves. And then the books on the other side kind of just stacked a bit more like library books. For space, I've had to stack a lot of books on their side because they take up less space when you stack them on their sides like that, because you can get them higher. So with my special editions, I like to have some of the books facing out so you could see the sprayed edges or the beautiful covers. I love art and illustration and design. It's what my bachelor's degree was in. We all know I love my illustration. I love, character artwork, fan art. So I like to collect some special editions for that as well because I love to look at them, so I want to see them. So we don't have too many books facing out anymore. It's kind of just like what is practical and what can we do. So that's just an overview of my bookshelf and the situation, the setup we have for it. We're going to go through each book, every single book. We're going to take you through that. Here you can see the bookshelves behind me. We kind of have everything somewhat categorized or separated. I used to have my books alphabetized and also sorted by genre, but when I started running out of room, that just kind of really wasn't an option anymore. It was kind of what can I fit in, where can I fit it in? So at the top originally was just my contemporary books, just on the very top shelf. I just liked how that broke up a lot of the dark colors from the mainly fantasy books I read. But it's still kind of, we got contemporary all the way at the top along here. We have fantasy, YA. So 90% of the books that I read are fantasy, but we kind of have some distinctions between them. So we'll start on one shelf and work our way over, and I'm kind of going to do one at a time. So we'll start with this one over here. So I have contemporary books at the top here. I have my Boys of Tommen paperbacks there, but then next to that we have my Summer in the City books by Alex Astor, and this is obviously, as you can see, used to be alphabetized. So we started off with my hardcover from the US and also my ARC copy, because I was one of the first people to read the book, which is super exciting because I think it's such a good book. I then have If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia, which is one of my favorite 5-star contemporary romance reads of the entire year. Genuinely so good. First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I then have my Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I read all of these before I ever got into BookTok, BookTube, Bookspace. I read them a couple of years ago, and when I said that I would read like 5 books a year max before February of last year, they're the books that I was reading. And I have not read Atmosphere yet because it's in hardcover. I will wait for a book to come out in the format that I have the rest of my collection in to prevent waste. I then have all my Ali Hazelwood books. I think I have every single one of her books that she's published that you can buy, and I have read them all. And I also have an ARC copy here of Mate by Ali Hazelwood. That is a prized possession. The publisher in the UK does her ARCs in like these mini hardcovers, and they are so cute. So that's there. You may also know that I have some Jellycats and little Sunny Angels on top of here. I never intended to like put them here. I just kind of had nowhere else to put them, so they live here. But the marshmallow I actually bought for Laura, and then she made me cut it up so we could have one each because that's us. So that's there. The hot dog was a gift exchange from the New York vlogs. That little carrot, Laura and I opened up. I'm pretty sure I've done almost all of my Sunny Angels with Laura, so we have like little matching ones from each set. So then on the shelf below I have my SJM shelf. So I have my collector's editions of A Court of Thorn and Roses and Throne of Glass that I got last year because they were the books that got me into reading. I have my box set, and then I have my Akhtar paperbacks, but they are in a dust jacket, and these are Frostbite Studios designed paperbacks I love Frostbite Studios, just the character illustration style they go for, but also just the color palette, everything I think is so beautiful. Obviously one of the most popular character artwork illustrators I think in the book space. These are from A Touch of Magic Designs. They do hardcover and paperback covers, and I just thought that they were super pretty. I didn't want to buy a hardcover just to put the dust jackets on, and I thought, you know, it's just more of a way of like personalizing a book series that means a lot to me and keeping it forever. Like I'll just put them on my paperbacks, but then these little corner clips, and I think it just like ties the whole thing together. Dust jacket on a paperback without these I think looks a little weird, but this helps, keeps it for its form and shape. But anyways, I have them on all of the books, so I think they're very pretty. And then I have my Crescent City books here. This I got in a package for the new Light Art book, and I just stuck it on here because I thought it was cute. I also have fake candles. If you remember hashtag Candlegate of 2024, you are an OG. They're fake candles. They're LED battery operated. I turn them on. I think they're really cute, especially in the evenings when it gets darker outside. It just adds some ambience to the room when you're reading in here or chilling. It's just, I think it's very cute, very aesthetic, very cozy vibes. On the shelf down here, we have a lot of my favorite fantasy romances. Most of these were originally indie published, so I do have some copies of duplicate books, like Quicksilver. I have the original indie cover of Quicksilver, but like the alternative version. So when Callie Hart made Quicksilver, she designed the cover herself, and she did two covers. So this was the discreet cover, which means it didn't have the photo of the man on the front, and I thought this was a beautiful cover, and Callie has signed it. I got her to sign it when I met her, but I keep my paperbacks and hardcovers kind of separate until I have space on a shelf to kind of put all of an author's work. Like I like to keep an entire author's collection together until I don't have any space for it. So we have the indie cover of Quicksilver here because it is taller than a normal paperback but shorter than a hardcover, and I have a specific hardcover shelf. We'll get to that. I have A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. I have this edition that was a special edition. It was from House of Fable. I don't have the rest of the series because I read it on Kindle Unlimited, and it was only this book that you could get in the special edition, or at least at the time, so that's the one that I have. I then have A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly by Sophia St. Germain. I have the Compelling Fate Saga books 1, 2, and 3. Book 4 isn't published yet, but it's about to be, but I have already read it on my Kindle because I had an ARC for it. So hopefully once the book is published, I'll be able to buy a copy, but right now there's only like ebook listing for it. So haven't got the fourth and final book of that yet, but I would love to be able to complete my set, hopefully. I then have Metal Slinger. I have more editions of Metal Slinger. You will see them on my bookshelf later on, but I have the original indie book here, which is also signed by the author. I was one of the first like 30 people to rate it and review it on Goodreads, and it is tabbed to the max because I did a reread with my book club, and I thought it would be really fun to tab certain things. If you've read the book, you know, but they are my tabs. So I have tabs for FMC, descriptions, other characters, world magic, plot, and foreshadowing. So that's super fun. Then I also have a copy of the American paperback when that came out. Rachel sent that to me. I have Gods and Monsters books 1, 2, and 3. Some of my books on my shelf have some sun damage, guys. In this room in the morning with the sunrise, I don't sleep in this room, so I wouldn't realize that the sun would come and would hit directly on the bookshelves, because when I would come into my office, it would like start to pass and phase that, and I kind of noticed the damage too late. So a big chunk of my bookshelf has some books that would hit the spot regularly in the sun and has some sun damage, some sun bleaching. The Gods and Monsters series is one of them. So a lot of my black books have kind of gone a little bit green from the bleach, and there's honestly nothing I can really do about that, and I don't really mind. I just have to be a bit more careful and keep the curtains closed in summer, but also maybe position my shelves in the next room a little bit more carefully. I haven't read book 4 yet because I have it on my Kindle, but it is also not out in paperback yet. So I think it comes out in paperback in February, but I will be reading book 4 before it comes out in February. But it's just one of those books where I've been focusing so much on my physical TBR and the new releases coming out, and I haven't really had time to dedicate to getting into it and mood reading. So there's a few different series I'm in the middle of where I've been waiting for new releases to come out. The books have come out and I just haven't got on top of them yet. But I love the series. Heavenly Bodies, I do also have a couple versions of this. I have the paperback that the publisher sent me because I gave a review of it and they printed that inside of the book, so that's also very cool. And then I have an ARC copy of Fallen Stars because I got to read that early. I have Phantasma And this was like I wouldn't say indie, I don't know if it wasn't indie because it's through Second Sky, but this wasn't the official edition that you could buy in bookstores. I bought it online before it came out in the UK on bookstores. And then I have an ARC copy of Enchantra that the publisher sent me, and I have them both signed by Kaylee Smith. And then I have my Lady of Darkness books here. I have more of Melissa's books here, but we will come to that when we head over to that shelf. Then down here I have my Twisted Sisters shelf. So these are books by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. So they have the Zodiac Academy series. They also have Never Keep, Sins of the Zodiac series, and then also a new series, Hollow, they're publishing. So I read all of the Zodiac Academy books on Kindle Unlimited, but I got these edition off of Blackwell's. But that's where I got these from. I just ordered them online from Blackwell's, and I did a pre-order so that when each new book got published in these covers, they were immediately sent to me. So that also made it easier to break up the cost of buying the whole series, because originally when I read the books I was like, I want to own the physical books. You would have to get a second loan out and remortgage your house to afford the cost of some indie books that are this big. So I was basically buying a book every other month, which wasn't too bad. It was pretty good. I have the hardcovers in the corner here of Never Keep and Echo Fort. I had bought those and read them when they came out, but then the Twisted Sisters put me on their PR list a couple months ago, which is very, very exciting because I'm huge fans of them. The Twisted Sisters sent me a copy of the Sins of the Zodiac in their ARC editions, which are these white paperbacks. And then I also have an ARC copy of Hollow, as well as the hardcover that they sent me from the States. And then on the shelf below, I have my Spark of the Everflame in the Corner by Penn Cole. I have the original indie books of those, and I did get them signed when I saw her at Rare. I have my JLA books here. So I have the Flesh and Fire Special Edition series here, but I won that in an Instagram giveaway. I've never won anything in an Instagram giveaway in my life, so they will permanently stay here, and I kind of have them as decor on that shelf, but they're not the versions of the books that I read, because I read all of her books physically, because the price that these paperbacks cost, because they're, again, I think indie published, is quite a lot. So I get my money's worth. I read the books physically. I haven't read the new Blood and Ash book because it's not out in this indie paperback size that I can find. I think it's only out in hardcover, and I want it to match the set, so don't really know what I'm doing there. And then on the very bottom shelf here, I kind of have like a mix of my darker romance and dark fantasy romance that I don't really have a place for it to go. So we have the Devil's Night series in the corner, as well as my Mindfuck series book, a book stack of some of the book series that I've read or, you know, I'm in the middle of. So we've got the Jasad Heir, the Bride of the Shadow King trilogy, Assistant to the Villain, Half a Soul. I have an arc of the Serpent's Bride because I don't know where else to put that. I have Nightshade by Autumn Woods. I have the Bridge Kingdom books 2 and 3 because I've read them. And then I have some arcs here from Source books. So we've got Terror at the Gates and Your Knife, My Heart. I then have my Kerry Maniscalco Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy and my Plated Prisoner series, all of the books, and have read all of them here. I've just been speaking to my camera and realized I never pressed record. So we have my first smaller Billy bookshelf case in the middle next. I have my Abby Jimenez and my Emily Henry books here. I have everything in paperback, and these are all the ones that I've read. I need to go back and read a lot of Abby Jimenez's previous work. I haven't, so it's more of her, you know, from Part of Your World series onwards releases. And then all my Emily Henry books. I also have an ARC copy of Great Big Beautiful Life, which I know is a little bit controversial because I personally think it's up there as one of my top favorite Emily Henry books. And I know not everyone feels the same, but very happy to have that. And then Jess, love you Jess. She had a spare copy of Beach Read Emily Henry Special Edition and sent it to me. So thank you, Jess. I also have the cursed fake Sunny Angel here, if you remember that. No? Yeah. I don't know what to do with that. I feel like if I bin it, I will be cursed for life. So it's here for now. On the shelf below, I have my House of Devils series by Kayla Edwards. I have books 1, 2, 3, and 4. Series is not complete yet. I don't know if there's going to be 1 or 2 more books next, but it is now trad published in the UK, so the paperbacks are smaller, but it's the same covers. So I feel like I probably won't buy book 5 when it comes out because it will be a completely different size, and I'll just read the books on my Kindle. But these are the original indie covers, so they're bigger. I then also have A Tribute of Fire and A Vow of Embers, and I'm very excited because the 3rd book in this series comes out this month, so I'll be reading that. I think these are like indie published as well through Amazon, so they're also taller paperbacks. I tried to keep my taller paperbacks together to keep the sizing of each shelf pretty consistent. So we have lots of indie fantasy romance books on here. We have the Legacy series by Melissa K. Rorick here. So we've got Reign of Shadows and Endings. I accidentally bought the Kensington edition for book 4 because it's now trad published in North America under Kensington. And if you're in the UK, you can also buy the Kensington edition. So I had to return and then get the indie edition because it's still indie published here. I then have the Midnight Whispers edition of Storm of Secrets and Sorrow and Reign of Shadows and Endings. And I've just realized they were in the wrong order, but this is one of my favorite special editions that I have. If Midnight Whispers do books 3 and 4, I will probably buy them because they are some of my favorites. And then this is where I start to kind of have my FairyLoot books scattered on my shelf. So I have Heavenly Bodies by Amani. Like I said, I have a couple editions of these. So we have that there. And then I also have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Two of my favorite FairyLoot editions, but the colors of them are nice, so I kind of just have them on this shelf for now. They used to be facing out. I just don't have room for that. Then below here, we have more. So we've got A Touch of Golden Madness, The Embrace of Steel and Sorrow. This is a dark fantasy romance series. It's really, really dark. Check trigger warnings. But if you want to like cry and have your soul ripped out and emotionally be traumatized and devastated, this is a fantastic series for that. There's a main series and a prequel series being written and published in tandem, and you cannot read the prequel series first. You have to read it in the publishing order because it gives you major spoilers. It's not one that's written to be read, here's what happens before and here we are today. Major spoilers, so you have to read it in publishing order. Blood and Betrayals by Jeanette Rose and Alexis Rune. This is 1,000 pages long, and again, like, actually jaw drop. I think about this ending at least once a week. If you like urban fantasy, if you like Amber V. Nicole, if you like Zodiac Academy, if you like an academy setting with magic, and I feel like that's a pretty good comp for what to expect in terms of like the level of darkness, but also the entertainment and the banter. We've got Riftborn, Duskbound, and The Ascended. I love that The Ascended is having its moment on TikTok at the moment because it is such an underrated book. This was a 5-star read, but you have to read Riftborn and Duskbound first. Just trust me. And so many people are like, you can read The Ascended first, you don't have to go back and read the other 2 books. You technically can, but everyone who's saying that doesn't understand why everyone is saying read Riftborn and Duskbound first, because it is a spoiler, because the series are connected. I have the Unearthly trilogy by Cynthia Hand, and I have the FairyLoot editions again, because look at this artwork. Yeah, this is some of the prettiest books that I own, so love that. And then underneath I have a bunch of my FairyLoot books that I have read, and I have them with the stenciled edges facing out because they're just so pretty. So I have 2 shelves of FairyLoot edition books like that for display reasons. And then on the very bottom, I have my Stasia Stark Kingdom of Lies, my V.E. Schwab, my Olive Blake, and my Rachel Gillig books down there. I love that shelf. I wish it was higher up. I just don't have shelf room. This is when it becomes a little bit more difficult to film because my huge reading chair is in the way here and I can't really move that. So on the shelf here, we have my diary-bound books. So I have multiple editions because I have the indie version that the authors sent me before it was trad published. Then the publishers sent me a hardcover proof of it. Then the final UK trad published version of it I have here as well, and I have that because I'm in the acknowledgements, so I got to see that and that was really fun. And then Wayward is a new imprint off of Transworld and FairyLoot, so this is kind of like my Wayward shelf. So I have the Wolf King. I also have the Night Prince that arrived this morning because this is another 5-star series that I loved this year that was originally published but then got picked up for trad publishing. So I have proof copies of books 1 and 2 because I yapped so hard about it on the internet that the publisher asked me if I wanted them. I said absolutely. I need to figure out how I'm going to fit that on this shelf here. But then I also have the original indie copies of book 1 and 2 here, and it's going to be a trilogy, so the 3rd and final book that I have will not be the same size of these, but they're indie, so I kind of want to keep them for now. I don't know. This is my Powerless and Hunger Games shelf. Kind of just felt fitting to put them on the same shelf together, but they were also the only kind of 2 book series that I could fit on this small shelf. So we have the Powerless series, I have the FairyLoot editions here, as well as the original paperbacks. The paperbacks I have tabbed and annotated, and then the publisher sent me a special edition copy that I've put in the corner here, and it is signed by the author, so I want to keep that. It's quite cute. So I have the stenciled edge facing out, but I feel like I'm starting to collect too many editions of these books, so I don't know. I need to figure out what one I keep. And then I have the Hunger Games copies here. I've had these for a while, and I got these versions off of Vinted. So we have the Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, and then I have like the movie tie-in for the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, because again, I read this before I did BookTube, because the Hunger Games is one of my OG favorite book series ever. It's my Roman Empire from when I was a teenager. I read Sunrise on the Reaping on my Kindle because it's out in hardcover, so I need to figure out what the paperback for that is. Probably going to be another movie tie-in, and I don't like movie tie-in book covers, but they kind of match this current set I have better than the standard paperbacks they have out because these are older. On this shelf I have A Dawn of Onyx, the Sacred Stones trilogy, and I have the FairyLoot editions. I think they're so pretty. I love the color. So then I have two other favorite FairyLoot editions. I have The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith, which was one of my favorite YA fantasy romance reads of the year, and then Burial Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, self-explanatory. Then here I have some dark romance. So we have the Legacy of Gods series by Rena Kent, and I have a duplicate version of God of Fury because this is the original indie version that Larry loved. It's one of her favorite 6-star books. She has a tattoo for it, and when I read the series, I read it because she told me to, and so she sent me a copy of her favorite book, so I was reading it on Kindle. So I kept that because it has a special note inside of there. And then I have Kiss the Villain, but I have an ARC copy of it, and I DNF'd. I hate to say I did DNF'd this book. I haven't come back to it. I don't think maybe this specific series by her is for me. I'll maybe give book 2 a try, but I didn't like either of the characters in this one. They were both just very angry, which is fine. I like one angry character, but I like someone to balance them out. And they were both just equally angry. And then we have Beautiful Venom by Rena Kent, which I did actually really love. And I have book 2 because that's just come out. So it will go and sit here next to it once I've read it. It just won't go on the shelf until I've read it. Then under here we have more FairyLoot editions. And then at the very bottom I have my Lightlark books. I have a special edition of Lightlark. I've got the collector's edition. So the original Lightlark is behind the shelf. I have my collector's edition on display because this is another book series that got hurt in the sun damage from the window. So the colors have slightly changed a bit. So I've hidden that away for now. And then I have my Twilight series that I also got on Vinted. And that is another Roman Empire series for me. And then here we have some more contemporary romance. So originally I just had the top shelves in my entire bookshelf that was contemporary, but I started reading more contemporary, so we have another shelf here. So this one is kind of like my sports romance and other romances. I'm trying to categorize it like that. So at the top we have the FairyLoot special editions of the Chestnut Spring series. We then have the paperbacks of Gold Rush Ranch series and the Chestnut Spring series. Not really too sure what I'm doing with this shelf anymore. I have my Lila Sage books here. So I have the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I also have her Soul Searching book here. I have an ARC copy of that, so that's with them to keep the author and the books together. And then I also have my Hannah Bonham Young books because they didn't know where else to put them. They wouldn't fit anywhere else. And then I have my Chelsea Curto DC Stars series here. It's one of my favorite sports hockey romance series ever, and they are indie published, so they're taller, so that's why they're kind of separated. Sunny Disposition and Team Players by Deanna Gray, another college hockey romance series I really love, and the third book I think has come out now, so I wasn't able to get a copy of book 3 physically, and I was waiting for that, so I'm gonna go see if I can get a third of copy because I think the cover's pink as well, so that's really cute. I really like these books, so if you like sports hockey romance and you haven't read them, I'd definitely check it out. Another indie sports college romance book is Fighting Spirit by Anna Harrison. This is also available on Kindle Unlimited. Check it out if you're looking for good ADHD rep, neurodivergent rep from an author who is neurodivergent too. Great one, check that out. I have Collide, Spiral, and Revolve, which I've read and I loved. I do enjoy this series, it's not my favorite college sports or hockey romance. The Mile High series follows very closely with the DC Stars for me. They're kind of like my top 2, so I have that entire series. I then have Wildfire and Daydream. I've not read Wildfire yet. Icebreaker is on my physical TBR that I will be reading, but I have read Daydream. And then here, another little division, we have one thriller, All Her Fault by Andrea Mara, and then we have like Rockstar and Hollywood romance. So we've got Real by Kennedy Ryan and If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden. I then have the YA books here. So we have the Shatter Me series, we have This Woven Kingdom books 1, 2, 3 because book 4 is not out in paperback, only hardcover. I have the Caraval trilogy, the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, Amber Quartet by Sabatier, which is one of my favorite YA fantasy series of all time, and the Belladonna trilogy. I then also have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I've not read books 2 or 3 yet, so that's why they're not here, but I was waiting for book 3 to come out in paperback so then I can binge book 2 and 3 back to back. I then have my Cassandra Clare YA shelf here, so I have the entire Shadowhunters universe to date published, and also I have them kind of in the reading order that I've been reading them in, so there's 1 or 2 books missing because they're on my TBR. I honestly want to try and get through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books this month. I want to try and get up to Chain of Gold at least before the end of the year. Ideally, I would like to be up to date by the new year, but we will see. I think a lot of my reading this month will be Shadowhunters because I want to finish it I want to see, because we have Better in Black and I do have a copy of that, and I have read 1 or 2 stories, but for the characters that I haven't read yet, I'm saving those, so I want to be able to read them. But this is one of my favorite god tier series, books, worlds, authors. I'm obsessed. Then below we have my fantasy hardcovers, and I kind of have them on the same level as my FairyLoot editions and my JLA books, so they all kind of look the same height. So we have Six Scorched Roses, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. They're kind of the only two physical copies of her books that I have, because I've read a lot of her others on Kindle and just didn't love them enough to have physical copies. I have the Rag Picker King and Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, her adult series, which I also love and think is underrated. I think it's going to be a trilogy, so it'll be complete very soon. I have Quicksilver and Brimstone. I have the original Quicksilver UK trad published version, because when I met Callie Hart, her publisher gave that copy to us. And Brimstone, obviously, because I wanted to read Brimstone, so I read it physically. I have Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling and Wrath of the Dragons. If you read book 1, book 2 is like crazy good. It's so much better than book 1. I think if you read book 1 and you weren't a fan but have maybe thought about continuing the series, I would definitely recommend it. But also if you've read book 1 and you haven't read book 2 yet and you did enjoy book 1, you're gonna have so much fun with book 2. The ending gave me goosebumps. We have Silver Elite by Danny Francis. I have my Trisha Levenseller, The Shadows Between Us and The Darkness Within Us, 2 books here because they just don't fit anywhere else with my FairyLoot books on the shelf. I have The Metal Singer UK hardcover by Rachel Schneider here. Laura Stephen, Our Infinite Fates, Devaney Perry's Shield of Sparrows, and then the Fourth Wing books that are out so far. And then in the very bottom, my reading chair is kind of blocking the way. We have limited space in this room, but I have The Favourites by Lane Fargo, and Larry annotated and read and tabbed that for me because that was one of my favourite books. So she gave me a copy of that, so it's the American hardcover. I have The Crimson Moth and The Rebel Witch. I have Skip Shock. Then I have a bunch of my proofs, so I kind of keep them together because they're all the same size. So we have that for Blood of Hercules, A Forbidden Alchemy, A Dance of Lies, To Cage a Wild Bird, Alchemy of Secrets, and Metal Slinger. Then I have my C.N. Crawford books here, so I have 2 special editions that C.N. Crawford gifted me. So I have my copies there, and then I also have Frost, which has been now trad published and the publisher had sent to me because they knew I love C.N. Crawford books. Then in the corner I have my books written by men. So we have Brandon Sanderson and P.S. Brown. For the tops of the shelves, it was pretty much just what I could fit and wear. So we have some more proofs. I have a proof of Wrath of the Dragons because when I posted about how much I loved book 2 on my Instagram and got goosebumps, the publisher saw that and then sent me a proof copy because it has this beautiful artwork of the characters on it. And they thought I'd like to have that as part of my collection. So that was very kind. But it's like a normal UK paperback size for the proof, so it doesn't fit in my proof stack. So we have some other proofs here like Iron and Embers and A Fate Forged in Fire. I have my Mads Rafferty books up here. The Dagger and the Flame, The Rebel and the Rose, City of Fantôme. I think that's going to be a trilogy, so there'll be one more book for that. I have more books here that I just didn't have a space for. So we've got my Lynn Painter books because they're the only YA contemporary books I think I've read. And then I have my Lucy Score books because I've not read them yet. This side at the top I have some Alexandra Bracken FairyLoot books, the Bonded by Thorns series, a couple more FairyLoot editions that I've not read yet, but I have my Poppy War collector's edition. I have some Sulin Tan books. I've got To Cage a Wild Bird FairyLoot edition. I just don't know where to put it. I have Throne of Secrets by Kerry Maniscalco. That's a Jellycat that's fallen off. Lore of the Wilds. And I did have to take a good handful of my FairyLoot books and put them in storage. So I'm missing quite a lot of hardcovers and a lot of special editions because we just ran out of room. So they're not there, but I cannot remember off the top of my head what they are. So I'm sorry if you wanted to know every single book that I have in my collection. And then down here, as you can see, we have 2 piles of books. So we have the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson because the Wind and Truth has just been published or is about to be published in paperback in the UK. I think it's already out. So the publisher got in touch because they saw that I was reading the Mistborn trilogy and loving it and asked if I wanted a copy of the entire Stormlight Archive series. And obviously I said yes. So that's my plan for 2026. I might put it on my 2026 TBR. And then I also have the Hush Hush series. I've got some YA books. I've got these on Vinted to read next year. So I have them here because they don't fit on my physical TBR. My physical TBR is full. We have a bunch of books on here. So a lot of them are series that I'm in the middle of ARC copies and books that I need to get through. So really been focusing on that, but this is my entire physical TBR. This is every book that I need to read. I feel like I have been yapping for the longest time ever. I did not intend to yap that much, but I hope that you have enjoyed this bookshelf tour. I don't know how many books I have on my bookshelf or in my collection. I'm a little bit afraid to count. And that brings us to another end of another Vlogmas video. We are almost halfway through the Vlogmas videos, guys. So exciting. If there's anything else that you'd like to see during Vlogmas, or you'd like to see me film in the new year, let me know, because I obviously always want to film videos that you guys want to see and request. And thank you so much for requesting a bookshelf tour. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to know in the comments, how many books do you own physically, if you know how many you own? Do you mainly read physical books or Kindle books? Do you collect and keep every single book you read, or do you just keep the ones that you love? But again, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.